Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another exciting episode of Trigger Warning Radio. I am your host, the Kaiju Conservative. So Trump has a new Supreme Court nomination in the form of Judge Brett Kavanaugh. So I guess this means I've got to do the obligatory Brett Kavanaugh episode that everybody's going to be doing over the next couple of days. So first and foremost, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to admit that I have not done as deep a dive into Brett Kavanaugh's background as I would have liked. I've done a little bit of research, but I haven't done a whole lot. From what I've read, though, he seems to be a very solid Supreme Court pick. He seems to be a very good conservative, and I think he's going to be a great addition to swing the court more to the right, which is where it needs to be. You know, he seems to be a very strict constitutionalist, even more strict than Justice Gorsuch, I think. And Gorsuch has already handed down some pretty solid constitutionalist rulings. I have seen a little bit of buzz among conservatives that he upheld the individual mandate for Obamacare in a case back in 2011. I'm going to have to do a deeper dive into that. It sounds like there's a lot more to that sort of that case than what people are actually reporting, and that's usually the case with that sort of thing. You know, you've got that headline that Judge Kavanaugh, he supported Obamacare back in this year by doing this, and usually when you do a deeper dive into it, you find out, well, that's not really the case. So I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. The other thing that I've found about Justice Kavanaugh in my research that I don't like a lot is the fact that he seems to come down on the side of the government with regards to warrantless surveillance. Seems like he's ruled in favor of the government in several of his cases, but I don't think that that's something that is enough to disqualify him from getting my support. I mean, yeah, I would rather that he, 100% of the time come down on the side of the Constitution, come down on the side of the people, but nobody's perfect. It's not something that's always going to happen 100%. Other than those two things, there's a lot that I like about him. He's very anti-regulation, very pro-Constitution, says the First Amendment should be used to get rid of a lot of laws and things like that. Comes down very hard on the side of the Constitution, and that is, that's a good thing. We are sorely lacking that in our judicial system these days. Plus, he also seems to think that the judicial branch should strictly be limited to interpreting the laws rather than making the laws. And as we've seen over the last couple of years in the Obama administration in particular, the Supreme Court has tended to become the judicial activists of the judicial branch. We've seen that with the gay marriage decision. We also saw that with Obamacare. So it'll be nice to get some more sanity back onto the Supreme Court. Now, possibly the biggest reason why I support Brett Kavanaugh, in fact, I think the biggest reason why any of us should support Brett Kavanaugh, is the fact that the left has lost their ever-loving minds over this guy. I mean, it is to the point where they have become so unhinged that they're not even attacking Kavanaugh on his merits. They are dredging up these weird, insane conspiracy theories to try and bring him down. There's this conspiracy theory that's been floated about over the last 24 hours that Kavanaugh was appointed because Trump and Kennedy negotiated Kennedy's retirement in order to give Trump the best chance of getting another SCOTUS pick through the Senate. And that's always presented as this nefarious, evil conspiracy. So what? So what if they did collude or discuss it or something? I'm sure they probably did. I'm sure they probably did discuss Justice Kennedy's retirement. I mean, it's not like it came as a surprise or anything like that. The guy's been talking about it for about a year now. So I'm sure Kennedy met with Trump at some point and said, yeah, I'm thinking of retiring. And Trump was probably like, oh, well, yeah, no, that's probably a good idea. Maybe do it. right around this time. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, who cares? And then you got this other conspiracy theory that I'm seeing a lot of the Democrat leadership coming up with, Cory Booker in particular, and that is the idea that Trump has appointed a person who will overturn his conviction for something. And this is based on the fact that Kavanaugh has said in the past that he doesn't think that presidents should be subject to lawsuits or investigations until they're out of office, which, makes sense. You don't want a president being investigated for absolutely no freaking reason. Mueller. Sorry, got a little frog in my throat there. So of course now the left is running with this as a conspiracy that Trump knows he's going to be indicted, and he's appointing people that will overturn that indictment or conviction or whatever. Which, as far as leftist conspiracy theories go, it's weak tea at best. Now, probably the single biggest endorsement that I saw for Brett Kavanaugh today. I saw this on Twitter, and it actually came from leftist film director Michael Moore. And who would have thought that Michael Moore would provide the best argument for why we all should support Judge Kavanaugh? But Michael Moore tweeted just shortly after Kavanaugh, after his nomination was announced. He said, "What else do you need to know about Brett Kavanaugh other than that he worked with Ken Starr to impeach Clinton, worked to help W. win Bush v. Gore Supreme Court case, and worked in both Bush White Houses. Recommended to Bush to put Alito and Roberts on the court. He must be stopped." Oh, Michael. That right there is a laundry list just about of reasons why we should all support Brett Kavanaugh. I mean, let's just go through it. Let's just look at that. So he worked with Ken Starr to impeach Clinton for the crime of lying to a grand jury. Nothing wrong with that. Definitely a pro. Worked to help W. win Bush v. Gore Supreme Court case. That was the case, by the way, that put an end to the fiasco that was the 2000 presidential election. If you don't remember what happened back then, I remember it very well. But essentially, it was the same type of deal as the Trump versus Clinton election. Gore won the popular vote. Bush won the Electoral College, and Gore just started suing the ever-loving crap out of every place that he possibly could, forcing recount after recount, particularly in Florida, which has made my state the butt of political jokes for years to come after that. Thank you, Al freaking Gore. And Bush v. Gore, that was the court case that basically put an end to that nonsense. So that right there is another pretty good check mark in the pro column. Worked in both Bush White Houses. Well, nobody's perfect. And that's actually an argument that I've seen, not really an argument against Kavanaugh from the right, but more of a worry, I think, is what I'll term it. The idea that Kavanaugh might be just a little too establishment. And yeah, that's something to consider. But when you look at what a Supreme Court justice is supposed to do, Supreme Court justice is supposed to put politics aside. They don't always do that, of course, but they're supposed to put politics aside. They're supposed to put allegiances aside in favor of the Constitution. From what I've read of Kavanaugh, it seems like he's capable of doing that, and I don't think his establishment ties are going to be a very big problem. Recommended Bush to put Alito and Roberts on the court. Well, Alito, great. Roberts, Again, nobody's perfect. But the fact that Kavanaugh has forced this unhinged tweet from Michael Moore and numerous other leftists, that right there is ample reason to endorse him, and that's why I'm going to endorse Brett Kavanaugh as well, and I hope you will too. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Both of those things help me out quite a bit. Let me know what you think of Justice Kavanaugh in the comments section below, and I will see you all next time.